podcast of Tibetan Kung Fu, episode 35. This is the podcast dedicated to our Kung Fu family. Those folks that practice Kung Fu to be a better person first and a better martial artist second. My name is Sifu T.W. Smith, and I'm responsible for the direction this program goes. I'm not the most important part of this program. You are. Part of the family, one of the students, someone who is dropping by for the first time, or perhaps you've participated in a workshop, or interested in a little bit more about what we do or martial arts in general. It may be important for you to know off the bat that the martial arts and the Kung Fu that I teach always resides in the fact that martial arts training, the real Kung Fu, is invisible. It's not that it's magic, it's that you can't see it, because it exists in your heart and your mind, not in your hands and feet. When your heart and mind know what to do, your body will figure it out. That's true in life, and it's especially true in Kung Fu. In today's podcast, I'm going to cover some special events, one of which is about a food drive. Another is about leading 70 fourth graders through Tai Chi. I got to get in shape for that one. We'll talk about this past week in practice, phrases of power, a follow-up from last week's podcast number 34 on Don't Apologize for Drawing a Line, my commitment letter to me, 1997. And the new newsletter will be coming out here shortly. Special events. I read this email on Kung Fu Podcast last episode. I want to read it here once on the podcast of Tibetan Kung Fu. I know that many of you all listen to both programs, but just in case, I think it's worth the cause. Just as a note, I'm not being paid for this. It's not an ad. It's just my way to support a martial artist who is trying to do good in his community. Young Smith wrote me and he says, quote, "Hello, my friend. I have still been enjoying your show. I would love to hear the essay in an audiobook form on martial arts." He's referring to an audiobook that I had made mention to on an essay that I'd be willing to do if some of the folks let me know. And he continues, "Also, I want to let you know about an event that I am hosting. I work for a ministry that does medical, dental, baby love, and food ministry to 40 families 5 days a week. I am personally hosting a martial arts extravaganza Saturday, March 28th in Jacksonville, Florida, that will feature a variety of martial arts demonstrations. Each school will also be competing to see who can donate the most food for a grand prize. And the entrance fee to the event is 3 cans of food. I'm still looking for more martial artists to participate and for donations for our silent auction. At your convenience, if you're able to make people aware of it, I would be greatly appreciative. Attached is a flyer, and if you have any questions, please let me know. Young Smith." There'll be a link to his Facebook page on this event in the show notes and on the webpage, and I'm going to see what I can do to support. Perhaps I can donate something, maybe an ebook or something. I'll get in touch with Young and see if there is anything. But if you follow it up on the Facebook page and see it's something that you can share or like that will help generate more interest in it, please do. On February the 13th, I'm going to be leading 70 fourth graders in Tai Chi at one of the local charter schools here in Raleigh. I would give out the name, but I didn't get permission to do that yet. I'm sharing it with you because, one, I'm excited about it, and two, as you can probably imagine, the idea of leading 70 fourth graders through Tai Chi, wow, I'm a little bit concerned. I got to do a good job. I'm going to have to practice. I would like for it to be something that they find exciting and interesting and perhaps invoke question and thought. Being the father of a 6th grader recently going through the 4th grade, I know how long the attention span is. So I'm going to have to be ready. Anyway, I just want to share that with you all. If y'all have any ideas or maybe you want to come out there and help, just let me know. That's February the 13th, 8:30 a.m. here in Raleigh, charter school. I can send you more information later. Reed, I want to tell you personally, thank you very much for stopping by and contributing the way you did. It means a lot to me, and it really does help. I'm in the process of revising how the content membership works. I want to make sure that I go well and beyond delivering to those folks who contribute and help me deliver this show and have more interest in some of the content that I provide, like you heard Young's interested in an essay in an audiobook format. You can help if you like, by using our Patreon account. The links will be in the show notes on the webpage. Or if you like other ways, using the affiliate links, specifically and pointing to a specific book or DVD or something like that you might find interesting. I try to point that out to you. The problem is I haven't really used any affiliate links. If I have, it's been very sparingly. But it is something I'm looking at to try to generate support for the program. If you are currently a student, or if you've been coming to the workshops and part of the family, I'll make sure that you also get access to a lot of the private classes and lesson audios and some of the videos. I'm also looking at allowing content members only online access to some of the workshops that you may not be able to physically participate in, or to get access to some of the video clips. So, for example, on February the 7th, there's going to be a Cloud Hands workshop, and I will take some video clips during there of me teaching, and you would have access to that. Or you could join us through Skype or Google Hangouts on a large screen TV. This past Saturday, we had the Hopgar Shooting Star Workshop. I received a text from Mr. Tasca regarding the concentration workshops and the things we've been doing here lately. And he wrote me and he says, quote, "These workshops are a great thing to do. Many folks like to memorize forms, always one more form. Much more interesting to learn how to move," end quote. Well, that's what we did in the Shooting Star Workshop. We took one technique, one stance, one step, and we learned how to use it at least 4 to 5 different ways, integrating the technique, the hands, into the footwork, putting it in context about how it could be used as a long hand, or how you would move and which directions to move it with. Some folks even went as far as to start applying it, like the picture with Mr. Task and Mr. Gallagher actually doing an exercise to help learn how to express and apply the shooting star, sometimes called the wing flip. The concentration workshops are an effort to deepen one's understanding on things that they may have already learned, or give them the ability to translate from something that they had learned in a previous context, maybe like in a karate, jiu-jitsu, taekwondo, or other styles. And that happens a lot. I see people all the time go, wow, the lights just went on. Now I can see what I was learning, or how I could translate something I had learned before. And that is why I tell you that the real Kung Fu is in your heart and mind, not in your hands and feet. When the mind clicks, it can see things that were always there. Last week, the theme of meditation was on the source of the wind. It was the type of meditation I'm going to include in the next audiobook. And in this coming week, the meditational theme is going to be holding things like water. As a follow-up to last week's podcast, number 34, Don't Apologize for Taking a Stand, it was great to get some of the feedback that you all sent me. I had one person tell me that they had noticed an apologetic epidemic, is what they said. They said, I began to realize how many "I sorries" I was saying, how many times I was being told by others, "I'm sorry." And when you become aware of it, you'll start to see that there's almost this cry wolf. How are you supposed to believe that someone is sorry when that's all they ever say? Remember that I did not say don't own your own errors, or not to humble yourself to apologize or own some of the things that we might make mistakes doing. As long as you remember that just because someone or some group doesn't agree with you doesn't mean you made an error. Other power phrases like, I can't, I will never be able to, are those that set a very thick wall that has to be worked around or taken down so that you can move forward. Every time you say, I can't, or I will never be able to, I hope a little caution sign pops up in your head going, be careful, because I work with people who can't, but want to. They have no arms, but would like to give you a hug. So I know the people who can't, but they don't quit trying. The way it was explained to me, there's a huge difference between can't and not willing to. And that's what I had to go through with my dad. I couldn't hardly get over it. And I kept saying I can't get over it. And then one day, one of my senior classmates, a wonderful Taoist practitioner, he said, Tim, it's not a matter you can't. At some point, you're going to have to be willing to. Those are power phrases because you give your power away when you fall into that abyss. And then two others to be attentive to is you should. That one is one of those things that sometimes rubs me a little wrong. I am sensitive to it, perhaps a little too much so, but I don't believe anybody should all over me. However, I do take advisement. I just have to be aware of that. I don't like it when other people decide they're going to tell me how I should live or should not live. I don't mind if they tell me that you should be aware that certain behavior is going to take to certain places. That I'm all on board about. You have the perfect right to make as many wonderful choices and as many mistakes as necessary to enjoy your life, as long as you try to avoid doing harm to others. And then the last one I'm going to bring up is please. Please is one that is also almost in an epidemic form. I see a lot of people being taught. In fact, a child psychologist, good friend of mine, and I one time spoke about this, and she said it's a sad thing when people are being taught to ask a bully, please stop bullying me. Please leave me alone. Please don't take my money. And I would totally agree. I teach my son to never ask a bully to please stop. You tell them, I don't want to fight, but this is going to stop. Leave me alone. Back away. There's a number of things, but you command a bully, because as soon as you say please, they know they got you. And I am totally open to other techniques, but once you've avoided a problem, and by avoid, I mean physically try to sidestep it. You see a pile there, you don't want to step in it because you know it's not going to be good, so you try to step around it. Well, now the context is different, so please is probably not going to work. I also got a note from Andrea Harkins on Twitter at themartialartswoman.com. She's out of Florida, and she wrote me a note. She said, quote, "You are a very committed martial artist, and I respect that and all you do in your podcast as well." Thank you, Andrea. It's not always easy to stay committed. It wasn't for me either, especially for some of the difficult, more internal work where I had to work through my mindsets and my emotions. That was very challenging and still is challenging work. I pretty much knew I was never going to quit, but I sure would like for it to be easier. I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be. I didn't know how it was going to help. But I did know that in my life, everything that had been really difficult usually produced something, if anything, just some perseverance. I recall on many occasions when I was young playing football, and I'd gone to the Clemson Tiger football camp. I was there actually with William Perry and his younger brother, and it was hot. It was muddy. It was humid, and I knew then why they called it Death Valley. But when we were out there with the fridge, and this was, of course, before he was the fridge. He was a senior in high school at the time. And we were doing two-a-days. A lot of the boys would quit because it was hard. And some of the boys did great. And then there were people like me who I didn't do great. I mean, I was honored to be there, and I made a lot of effort while I was there. But I wasn't as big as folks like the fridge and their family of football players. I wasn't as fast as some of the others. But I could bring a battle, and I'd pass out before I'd ever quit. And that's pretty much the same mentality I've had to take in a lot of things. Even in graduate school, I wasn't the smartest one there, but I'd never quit studying, if that's what it took. The reason I bring this up, when it comes to being committed, the internal Kung Fu has challenged me more than anything else I'd ever persevered through. And even today, just like I was talking with the folks right after the class here, is that it still makes me aware that I still have work to do, and I've mastered one thing. I've got to practice. And that's good. I have no problem with that because I see the results now. I see that I'm happier with myself and usually able to do a little bit better than I had before. Why am I telling you all of this? After 7 years of daily practice, Tai Chi, Hop Gar, Kung Fu, Bakwa, many of the styles, and nearly daily, at least a few times a week at least, I would have engagement with my classmates and others. A lot of times they were being deployed, so I wouldn't see some of them for months at a time, and then other times I would see the others. But after 7 years, I moved to Texas, Houston. And when I moved, I realized a whole nother level of commitment. While I was there, I found myself going astray. I didn't really miss practice, But it was hard for me to stay as focused. It was hard for me to stay as committed. It was hard for me to walk through my walking hands and form or whatever else, conditioning, whatever it was that I had been doing before. There was numbers of things I would work on. But when I was by myself, I learned that I had to be the water and the ship. And one weekend, I was sitting there in Houston, and it was a hot August day. And I had to write myself some notes. I took those notes later, and I compiled them into a letter to me. And I wanted to share parts of it with you so that occasionally when you're trying to find your way in your own style, in your own art, maybe this is something that would be assistance to you. So let me get the letter here. And it says, Reasons Tim Smith Practices Kung Fu, 1997. Then I wrote, Life is a training experience, and each day is a new adventure. Roman numeral 1. Become a better person. Under there, I wrote, Exercise my will, my internal strength, and to free myself of judgmental emotions, to learn to exercise my beliefs, and exercise faith in myself, to become a better person by putting my energy and thoughts in perspective, and to nurture a happy life for myself and radiate that happiness to those folks I care about and are around me. How am I going to do that? My tool? Practice my posting every day. Practice one day, you gain one day. You miss one day, you lose 10. Now that was something that summarized from Sifu Ko Ling Ying. Number 2, keep optimal physical health. Now, I'd let myself slide a little bit while I was down there. I was enjoying the culture of Houston and South Texas, which included lots of good cold beer on those hot days, too much Angus beef, and the lifestyle of a businessman who was trying to open up a clinic with a group of partners. So I had to get myself back into gear. And I wrote, keep optimal physical health, keep my lungs clear, exercised and vibrant to deliver oxygen efficiently, maintain a body weight that reduces the risks of injury, improves energy, and reduces disease. Maintain an optimal physical health so that physically I can perform and do the things I want to do. Keep my muscles and tendons and bones strong for protection, usage, and agility, and to keep my blood flowing so that I can deliver oxygen and nutrients easily. Under nutrition, I put things such as eating food that improves my energy and supports my other goals, amounts that provide energy resources but without being full, and then select foods that improve digestion. And under that, I put eat 4 servings of fresh fruit every day, reduce the meat, and reduce any alcoholic beverages to no more than 2 in any day. I went on to write things such as flexibility and what I was going to do with that, developing the power, the Fa Jing or Fa Li. And then lastly, in a sense of responsibility, I wrote down, continue the efforts of those people who have sweated before me, to pay respect to those people who have contributed their effort and time to me with patience and guidance. Remember that the ultimate respect is in doing, not in wanting to or talking about it. If you're wanting the right things, then do something in that direction. And part of the responsibility that I remind myself of and need to remind myself of more of is that every man makes his life and he stands for something. You always stand for something, Tim, whether you do something or not. I will strive to remind myself of these things each day. And again, that was 1997. And my way to find my commitments to myself first and to build from there. Hopefully you won't be able to tell that I had to stop and go teach the free meditation class that we have each Monday. And I'm just coming back. Let me pick up where I was. I hope you'll find the commitment letter to myself helpful in some ways. Next in the podcast is I'll be soon drafting the newsletter. I've decided the things I'll put in there for now are going to be reviewing events and our practices, any released audios, videos, and courses, information about those, upcoming workshops and seminars, and specials and stories that I would hope would be important to those who are on the newsletter. Some of the things may be a rehash of some things we talk about here on the podcast, and other times it's going to be totally different things. Upcoming, the Cloud Hands Concentration Workshop is this Saturday, 9 a.m., TibetanKungFu.net/cloudhands. And Grasping the Bird's Tail concentration will be Wednesday at noon, that's February the 11th, TibetanKungFu.net/Grasping Bird's Tail. And that's going to be a class looking at Pung Loi Ji and An. I hope to have something set up so that if you're a content member and you want to join the workshops by Skype, or if you'd like to see some video clips and audio of that, you can, so that you'll have some more information if you have an interest in following some of the things that we do. So we discussed the food drive in Florida, the Hopgar Shooting Star Workshop, commitment letter, upcoming workshops, and Mr. Taskus text. Thank you so much for joining me in episode 35. I want you to get out there to practice. Remember that you practice your Kung Fu to be a better person first and a better martial artist second. This is Sifu T.W. Smith, and I'll be talking with you again real soon.